It looks like the XRP price chart has finally showed its hand and is letting us know when the next big breakout is going to be. In this video, I want to go over the XRP price chart as well as go over a fascinating metric that has only flashed a couple times in XRP's history and has always led to a massive rally. In this video, I want to talk about that as well as some sneaky, very positive news going on with RLUSD right now that you probably haven't seen yet. Like always, your support means so much to this channel. Thank you to everyone who takes the time to like these videos and subscribe to the channel. These two simple things really do help me out so much. Also, if you have any good place to buy some XRP, make sure to check out my favorite exchange Uphold down in the description of this video. With that said, let's jump right into it, and I hope you guys enjoy the content. So I'll start out this video and quickly go over the XRP price chart because we are watching something right now that, in my opinion, is letting us know when the next breakout is going to be. Now, XRP, after its massive rally earlier this year, has kind of stalled out in a pretty defined trading range. Now, this is something that's actually very common for XRP. After going very parabolic, it tends to consolidate its price, squeezing volatility. Now, XRP, for one reason or another, is a highly volatile cryptocurrency and tends to make a lot of its moves in one big move all at once. And this is one of the formations that we constantly see with XRP. Essentially, the highs get lower, the lows get higher until the price squeezes into a massive movement. Now, what we can see right here is XRP is just at the end of this volatility squeeze. It's only got about a month left, and this pattern is actually ending around July 25th. So I would expect by July 25th, we'll likely have the XRP price chart really showing its cards. Now, it's possible we could move this up a little bit and extend things a little later into July, maybe possibly into August, depending on how this thing really ends up playing out. But ultimately, it looks like XRP could be trying to break out at this moment. Now, when it comes to what's going to make XRP break out, there's a ton of catalysts around the corner. Some micro, some macro, some having to do specifically with XRP, some having to do specifically with the cryptocurrency sector at large. But to see XRP holding these levels since that big breakout we saw in November and actually making higher lows along the way, it's extremely positive. And this is one of those formations that has been extremely consistent with XRP. Now, with that said, there is a very important metric to be paying attention to right now. And this historically has just been something that's been a highly accurate predictor of where XRP is going to go. And that indicator is actually whale wallets. Now, XRP is a cryptocurrency that reacts very, very strongly to whale wallets increasing their XRP position. If we take a look at the XRP whale accumulation over the past 6 months, we can see that right now we are seeing an exponential amount of whales accumulating XRP. Now, this is no surprise because one of the things we are seeing is institutions, larger and larger players, and more serious people coming into the cryptocurrency industry are looking at this industry a lot differently than people who came before them. For the longest time, the biggest hype in crypto was NFTs and meme coins, and since then, that whole thing has really died out and dried up quite a bit. And now what we're seeing is there is a lot of attention on cryptocurrencies that are promoting utility like tokenized assets or stablecoins, something that the XRP ledger was specifically designed for. We're hearing a lot more banking institutions coming into cryptocurrency because of rules and regulations, the thing that has kept them out for the longest time. But what we're seeing is there was never a question that these institutions wanted to use these assets. It was really just that they were being barred by the regulator from doing so. So now what we're seeing is ever since we've really had a lot of this clarity come in, we have seen the accumulation of XRP by these whale wallets has been off the charts. Now, what's so interesting about this is it actually really does relate to a direct correlation to the price movement of XRP. Take a look at this chart right here. It actually compares the whale flows to how XRP moves. And what you can see is in 2024, in the late 2024 time period to early 2025, when XRP went on that 600% pump, really what was happening was we had a mass accumulation of XRP by the whales. What we can see right here is the whale chart pumped, and then right behind it was XRP's price. What we're seeing right now is actually something very similar, except the price is yet to make its movement. The amount of whales accumulating XRP is skyrocketing in the same way we saw in late 2024, early 2025. And soon after, a couple months, XRP's price followed. I think we're likely seeing that same exact thing play out right now. Whales are continuing to come in at a rapid clip, and that's without the ETFs even being live. Imagine what's going to happen when the ETFs go live and there is clear rules and regulations like a market infrastructure bill. These are all things that are going to allow more and more financial institutions to get in, and with Ripple being positioned as one of the leading companies working with these financial institutions, there is no doubt that the amount of whales coming into XRP is only going to continue to increase. In my opinion, it's not that far of a stretch to say, just like we continue to see the XRP price follow the whale accumulation, that trend will continue. And as these whale accumulation numbers continue to rise, we will see XRP price chart follow. So this is a great indicator that all of these catalysts are leading to fundamental changes when it comes down to accumulation. And that's only happening because the XRP ledger has continued to be one of the leading blockchains, with Ripple continuing to put the XRP ledger in the eyes of the people who matter. I make this point all the time, but it's so important to realize this. I could create a new version of the XRP ledger tomorrow. It could be 10 times better than the XRP ledger in a whole bunch of different categories, but no one's going to use it if I can't get the network effect. That's one of the things that too many people forget. The network effect is something extremely, extremely valuable for any blockchain. Eventually, or ultimately, the network itself is only as powerful as its users. Ripple has created one of the most powerful user bases for the XRP ledger than almost any other cryptocurrency out there. So the XRP ledger continues to be positioned in the eyes of the people who matter. In my opinion, ultimately making that whale accumulation number something that's going to be very, very important to watch as we roll into more sophisticated players coming into the industry. With that said, there are some macro catalysts I quickly want to cover. The first one being that it does look like the Federal Reserve is going to be cutting interest rates here pretty soon. For the first time, we have a lot of pressure from President Trump essentially saying, look, Powell, if you don't cut interest rates, we're done here. We're cutting interest rates. Interest rates should be at 1 to 2%. This is going to happen. And if you don't do it, I'll replace you with someone else who is going to do it. Now, I've been saying for a while that we should have lower interest rates. Inflation's already around 2%. That's exactly what the Federal Reserve's target is. There's really not a lot of bad things going on in the economy where you would want to be worried about cutting interest rates. It just seems like interest rates are way too high. Now, if interest rates were to come down to 1 to 2%, you would see the markets absolutely rip. The market has been doing very good with a high interest rate environment, but it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to be keeping interest rates where they are when essentially interest rates were only raised so high because of an inflation problem. The inflation problem is gone, and now we're just sitting in a place where high interest rates are hurting different parts of the economy and making it so it's really hard for things like cryptocurrencies or equities to garner a bunch of capital because people are just keeping their money in a bank account making 5 to 6%. It looks like the political pressure is really shifting here, and there is a lot of pressure to lower interest rates, and it looks like Trump's mind is heavily on this. Trump doesn't want the United States refinancing their debt at a 5% rate, or else the United States government is going to be paying billions of dollars for essentially no reason when he himself can make rates lower and make it so the United States does not have to pay billions and billions of dollars. So this is one of those kind of ticking time bomb catalysts, and I mean that in a positive way, that's just, we know is coming, it's gonna happen, we just haven't seen the political pressure push hard enough to actually push it over the finish line. But I do think this is likely going to really hit home towards the back end of the summer, if not early fall going into the winter. I think we're going to be at a much lower interest rate, and that is going to really turbocharge this market in a way that's going to lift the entire thing significantly higher. We've been really performing very well in a really bad market for cryptocurrencies. I mean, if you told me we were going to have XRP up 600% at the end of 2024 with a 5% interest rate, I would have said no way. It's just a really hard time for cryptocurrencies to perform so positively. But what ended up happening was that it was just so bullish with the change in the administration now being pro-crypto, despite all the macro pushing against us, the market still did really, really well. So imagine what the market can do when everything is actually aligned for the market to perform in a low interest rate environment. It's going to turbocharge this entire thing to a level we've been waiting for a very long time. I want to finish this video off and touch on one last thing with RLUSD. I just saw this interview. I'm not going to play it here because it kind of beats around a lot of different points before getting to the part I want to talk about. But it looks like the RLUSD stablecoin is now doing 10 billion daily in volume. This is something that's going heavily under the radar right now because the market cap hasn't caught up yet. The RLUSD market cap is still around 400 to 500 million, but it looks like its actual transaction volume is significantly higher. I'm going to say this right now. What you are going to see over the next year or so is a massive movement away from most of the stablecoins in the market to RLUSD. USDC and Tether are going to have huge problems, and this is something that has really been raised to the top levels of a lot of different institutions. RLUSD is in a significantly better position than USDT and USDC. Honestly, I, for a long time, talked about on this channel that USDC was going to be an institutional grade cryptocurrency. It actually looks like that's not going to be the case, and USDC is being pushed out of the mix of the most important stablecoins in the market. RLUSD, in my opinion, is in a far better position, and it's actually extremely attractive to a lot of the large institutions that are pushing away USDC. We're going to watch this play out over the next couple months. It's kind of a head fake on the Circle IPO. A lot of people saw that Circle IPO and said, okay, this thing is going to be an institutional dream. I think people should hold back on that for a couple different reasons, and I'm actually surprised of how important these reasons are. RLUSD is significantly more appetizing to a lot of these financial institutions. I think it's going to be very interesting to see a lot of that 10 billion in volume translate into market cap as we start to see a lot of these players being more transparent about what they're really doing. Thank you so much for coming. I hope you enjoyed this update, and for now, Mickle out.